place to feel very much like Arkansas, and I just feel like there's so many properties being built around the country that have no connection to really where they are, and a strong sense of place is important to me. So when we decided to launch this idea on our PBS show, I don't know, 10 years ago, I wanted to really set an example, not the example, but just an example of how you could draw from your local environment and come up with materials and ideas and inspiration to create something that really feels authentic to place. So that's what I wanted, was a house, a farm that was authentic to place. And so what we did is we went to properties within a 175-mile radius of this place and looked at architectural styles that were within that 1830 to 1840 range, which was the period of time for this house. And so by following that and going to, 6 or 7 properties, we were able to extract room proportion, size, window casings, details for the brick mold, baseboard details, the way the fireboxes work, mantles and things like that. So I'm very pleased with the way the house came out, because I wanted it to be as green and efficient and modern as possible in terms of its construction, but also have the feeling of an old house where it feels really charming. The style of the house is Greek Revival. Both the exterior, the porches are Doric, fluted Doric columns, but the interior, you see the Greek Revival details, I think, in the door surrounds, window surrounds principally, but also with the proportions of the rooms and the fact that there's no crown molding. You certainly did see crown molding in houses from the 1830s and 40s. They were typically in grander houses than this, and it would have been principally a detail that one would have found on the first floor and not the living quarters above. We used a lot of different methodologies, both old and new, to make it as green as we could. So the windows are Marvin windows. They're highest rated energy efficient windows. So that's on sort of the current end, along with the foam insulation. We used biofoam, or it was a foam based on soybean insulation, soybean oil. And there we wanted to use many local products as we could. On the sort of history side, technology, if you will, used from the past, time-honored methodologies, we used the Rumford fireboxes. These were popular from the late 18th century to the present. Really haven't been improved upon. They were developed by Count Rumford. He was a contemporary of Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin supported his ideas on thermodynamics. since then, we really tried to support 4-H programs, getting kids involved, raising some different breeds, but we've really focused on the old heritage breeds that are in trouble. The breeds that used to be on farms in the 19th century that really fed this country through Civil War, Great Depression, First and Second World Wars. Birds like silver-laced wyandottes, we have a horse named Trudy who pulls this rig that's out here on the east side of the barn in the overhang. And Trudy was a rescue horse. She was actually part of a medical experimentation project with a drug company in Canada. She was rescued by Amish families who bought her and had her in Missouri. And I had a pair of Belgian draft horses out here which were huge. They were these mastodons, and they'd neither one been broken to work. And I didn't have the time to break them. And so I traded these two Belgians to this Amish family for Trudy and the rig. And it worked out great. Yeah. It worked out great. We have two dogs out there that you'll see, Smudge and Squeak. Smudge and Squeak are Anatolian Shepherds. It's a breed from Turkey that were bred to protect sheep. They don't herd them, they just protect them. The television series evolved really with me doing short news inserts that would show up at local news. And they would be tips on how to root a rose cutting, how to choose the best coleus for sun, how to deal with tomato hornworm, that kind of thing. And then the stations really liked those, and people started saying, we'd love to see more. So they asked for us to do a 30-minute show. And we did. And the PBS had seen it and said, this sounds like the kind of stuff we really need. We only have the Victory Garden. We don't know how much longer it's going to be on the air. Happily, it's still on the air, I think. But, we said we'd love to see that. So we developed that. And somewhere along the way, I started the first book. So it was 2 or 3 years into